Hi guys, good morning. We will just wait for another 5-10 minutes till we have about at least 20-30 people joining in. So just give us 5 minutes and 5-10 minutes and then we begin. Thank you. You guys can use the chat to type in your questions or your comments. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Maybe one of you all can just type in a confirmation in the chat window. Thank you. Thanks, Dheeraj. Okay, we have about 13 people now. Thanks, Abis. Thanks, Sachin. So the official timing communicated was 10 a.m. So I think most of the folks will start joining around 10. So if you want to grab a cup of coffee or something, to the 16 people have already joined, feel free to grab a cup of coffee. I will start at 10 a.m. once we have about 25-30 people. Hi, Shaunik. Hi. Hey, Pramod. Morning. Hi, Aditya. Hey, Sheval. Good you could make it. I thought you were working today. Thanks for making it work. Hi, Kajambari. So, guys, there's a slow mode on the chat on, which means that you will be able to message once in 1 minute. Uh, this is the first time we're doing, so I've enabled this to kind of help me monitor the chat. But going ahead, we'll keep it more free flowing. But for now, for today, I think you'll be able to type in your messages only once in a minute. So the next time you want to chat or you want to type your message, it will be after a minute from your previous message. Sorry for that if that's a bit inconvenient to anyone. And we'll try to figure out what is the best platform. So if YouTube doesn't work, we'll try to move it to Zoom or Teams. So we'll figure it out as we kind of, go along the way. Let's give it another 5 minutes. We'll begin at 10. Hi, Pulkit. Good morning. I think one thing I'm realizing now is maybe a Teams or a Zoom could be better because you all could unmute yourself and ask questions. I think unfortunately in this YouTube live that option doesn't look like available. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out over the way which platform is the most user friendly. We have about 18 people who have joined. Okay, I think let's begin. It's almost 10 a.m. now, and I think we have 18 of you all who have joined in. So again, a very good morning to all of you all. I hope I'm audible. I think you all have confirmed that I'm quite audible. In between, if there's a network issue, just put it on the chat so that I'm aware that the audio is not coming in quite nicely. So I think the format today obviously will be a very free flowing kind of a format. So maybe I'll talk for about 5-10 minutes talking about my own journey, the way that my career has kind of shaped up. I'll be very honest and transparent. I don't think I had a plan when I kind of started, but I believe if I had been more planned or more structured, probably I could have had a better experience. So just sharing my learning so that some of you all who have just started your career or who want to kind of pivot from your current role to a more CNB oriented role can maybe take up some of these tips. And obviously, every career journey is different. Every individual is different. So that's why I've also taken up one-on-one coaching or one-on-one mentoring. So if you're keen on that, just drop me a DM on WhatsApp, and I will get you added on the one-on-one mentoring group as well. So so what are we doing here in the CNB weekend classes is maybe every week I'll put up 2 or 3 topics, and you guys can vote which topic is most relevant for you all, and then we pick up like a 45 minutes to a 1 hour session either on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on how everyone's availability is, right? So that's going to be the format going ahead, and I will also try to get some of my friends, some of my colleagues as guest speakers, so that you don't always see my face every Saturday morning. So we'll try to mix it a bit so that there's not boredom kind of creeping in. Okay, anyway, let's deep dive into the today's topic now, right? So today's topic is how do we prepare and how do we build a career in CNB, right? Compensation benefits or total rewards. Let me first tell you what is broadly total rewards, because some of you all might have some exposure to total rewards. Some of you all might be more of an HR generalist or a talent acquisition or L&D background or domain. So if I have to broadly put into 4 buckets, right? So total rewards is you have the main bucket, which is compensation. Then you have benefits, which is again a significant part of the total rewards framework. Then you have wellness, right? So employee well-being and wellness is now becoming a very critical part of the whole total rewards or the EVP that a company has. And lastly, you have something which I think is kind of jointly owned. It's not only Total Rewards, but it's owned by Total Rewards and let's say OD or L&D is around career, right? In terms of how do I enable career paths? How do I reward people for for long careers within field? So apart from these four, you also have recognition, so what we call as reward and recognition. You'll also have global mobility in case you have employees who keep traveling between India and abroad, and people who come in from outside of India to India. So, especially if you're a global kind of a setup, you will have a global mobility function as well, which typically sits within total rewards. And then there'll be few companies who will also look at payroll and will club payroll under total reward. So that's the broad universe of total rewards, right? Now, maybe one few pointers And just for the benefit of people who have recently joined, hi Megha. So we have about 30 people now, and what we'll do is maybe I'll speak for the next 10-15 minutes, so till 10-15 or so, and then I will open it up to Q&A, so where you can put in your comments or your questions, and we take those for the next half an hour to 45 minutes, so that it's more interactive than just me talking, right? Um, okay, so some of the very basics that you need for the total rewards function, right? I think some of these are very obvious. Most of you all would have done your MBA or some kind of management degree exposure. So, so I think the first primary skill set that a total rewards or a CNB professional needs is good analytical skills, right? So now don't confuse this with good Excel skills. I think Excel is great. Excel as a tool has been there for the last I don't know, maybe 50 odd years, and all of us in CNB have uh, have had to be proficient in Excel. But going forward, I'm not very sure if Excel will continue to kind of have the grip that it currently has. So what is more important is your ability to look at numbers, to derive patterns, to be able to crunch numbers, whether the tool is Excel or AI or or it could be anything, right? Some of us have that kind of vision where you just look at the numbers and you can make out certain patterns. You don't need to run a pivot or you don't need to write any macros to derive any insights from the numbers. So so I think the first basic thing is building analytical skills, and we'll talk about how to build this over a period of time, right? I think the second most important fundamental trait that the total rewards team needs is, I think, very heavy importance on values, right? So the total rewards function is actually more like a very it's a governance function, right? So I mean, some of my colleagues say that we are a bit like that tijori wala, right? We have the keys for the tijori which the organization has, and you would know what kind of responsibility lies on you to kind of have that kind of a responsibility. Obviously, your finance team will work with you, so it's not that you can approve anything and things will happen. But your finance team will depend on you in terms of directions, on payouts, on lot of things, right? On budgets, on payouts, on long-term strategy, short-term strategy, and so on. So I try to keep it slightly less uh, jargonish because I think the audience is a very varied audience. So I'll not get into too much of technical details today. But as we go on, if if there's a requirement to get more technical, we can do that, right? So so coming back to my point, right? So since TR is almost like a governance function for HR or for the business, it's very important that you stand for the values of the organization, right? We've all seen what has happened with TCS BPO in Nasik. Obviously, you can't kind of you know come into conclusion, but from what initially we see is there was like a complete lack of governance there. Now, obviously, this has nothing to do with total rewards or CNB because it was a very different incident. But just imagine if that kind of laxity is observed in the TR function, what would happen, right? I mean, you could almost go out of business because if you make wrong payments or you make shady payments or you make some certain errors, uh, that has a very big financial impact. And if you especially falter on the compliance side, we all are currently all working to get compliant to the new codes. uh, it could, I mean, the government could actually just shut down your business if you're not compliant to the norms or to the law of the land, right? So the second is, or the second most important part is you have to be extremely uh, diligent to the values of the company and to your own values. So your values and the company's values need to be aligned. Otherwise, it's very difficult for you to be respected as a total rewards professional. If you just do what the business tells you to do, then that's a very slippery path, if you ask me. So you need to have the courage, the rational, and the intelligence to push back business, to push back finance, to push back employees. So there's a huge amount of negotiation skills which come into play, especially when you take up a leadership role in total rewards. So, maybe when you start off, you don't need that much because you'll be doing more of, analysis and number crunching. But as you get senior, as you start leading the function, there would be huge pressure from all stakeholders to make certain decisions, and there's no right or wrong, right? So obviously you have to be compliant to the law, but beyond that, we take very judgmental calls, we take very subjective calls, and we will always be questioned in terms of, you can't keep everyone happy. So there will be certain parties who will kind of do name calling, who will call you out that you're not being fair. But at the end of the day, you need to be absolutely convinced with the decision that you took, and your leadership, your CEO, your CHRO need to be absolutely convinced that you did the best that you could. Right. So that's point number two in terms of the importance of the governance aspect, and how you need to build your negotiation skills to kind of tackle that. Right. I think third is something which is important for every function in HR, but especially TR, is your learning agility. I mean, things keep changing every month, right? So, especially if you're doing global operations, I handle 30 plus countries. My payroll leader keeps sharing updates with me every week, saying, "Oh, today in Finland this has happened. Today in Slovakia that has happened." um, it is not manually possible for you to be abreast of what's happening in 30 odd countries. So your learning agility has to be very sharp, right? So as soon as something new happens in a particular geography, how do you quickly adapt your rewards philosophy, or how do you adapt your systems to kind of comply to that, right? That becomes very important. We've seen the whole labor codes kind of shaping up, right? So none of us had too much of IR background till maybe a year or so, and now today, if you see, most of the CNB leaders are experts in employee relations or IR, though it is not their domain per se, right? But still, most of the CNB leaders are very well versed with all the four codes, not only the code on wages. So that's the kind of learning agility that you need if you want to succeed in this function, right? So I think those are three very important things that you would need to kind of be successful here, and that you should start preparing both technically and mentally. So both from a competency perspective and from a behavioral or a soft skills kind of a perspective. And in terms of my own journey, so maybe I'll spend 2 minutes talking about my own journey. So obviously, I did my engineering. I joined Wipro as a software engineer. Worked there for 3 years, Bangalore, Pune. All these 3 years, I was giving the various management entrances, and then finally cracked the TIS entrance exam in 2008. Uh, um, and then post my 2 year MBA in HR, again got campus placed at Wipro. So started my HR career with Wipro back in 2010. My first stint with Wipro was about for 3 years, 2 years as a HR VP and 1 year as a campus recruiter. And then was, I think, the pivotal moment where where I got an offer from Eon Consulting, right? Now, most of y'all always ask me that why did you choose CNB, or why did Aeon choose you, although you had absolutely zero experience, right, in CNB. I think, I mean, this is a slightly bigger discussion because there is no real answer that I can come up with. I think why I chose CNB. So honestly, I did not choose CNB. I was more kind of enamored by the glamour of consulting. So when a consulting company came knocking my doors, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to travel the whole world. I want to be on flights every week, and I want to, gather my credit card miles. I want to, eat well, sleep well, drink well, and all of that. So that was my uh, intention to get into consulting. I was not really bothered whether it's CNB or non-CNB. So that was my motivation to kind of join Eon. Why did Eon choose me? So I did ask the Eon leadership much later on in terms of why did you really choose me. And while initially the leader said, you were the only one who was ready to join, on a lighter vein. But I think primarily what they were looking at is three things. One is pedigree in terms of, the kind of the 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 schools that you come from, right? So your engineering college and your MBA B school, that kind of shows the company that you have, you have kind of competed, and you have uh, come up the right way. So that's one. So pedigree, whether it is fair or unfair, I'm not going to go into that. But pedigree matters, and the kind of schools that you come from do matter, especially in consulting, I would say. Second is they felt that I had this risk-taking ability that kind of aligned with Aeon because again Aeon, and this is all of these are personal views. They don't reflect views of my current organization or any of my previous organizations. So 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 they like that risk-taking ability of mine, where without any CNB exposure, I was willing to take up a CNB consulting role, and that is what they also kind of believe as an organization. So that kind of worked in my favor. And third is my tech background. So I had about 6 years of experience by then. 3 years as a software developer, 3 years as a HR, always in tech. And the role that I was being hired for was consulting within the tech practice. So that kind of played into my favor because they were happy that there was solid domain experience, even though there was not CNB experience. I had that understanding of the tech industry or the tech. So I think that's where that initial break happened with Aeon, and after that, I think it was a more smoother journey. So I worked with Willis Towers Watson later, and then after I think about 5 years of consulting, I decided to do a corporate stint with Reliance Industries just before COVID. And then after COVID, I decided to come back to consulting. So I did about 4.5 years with Mercer, 2 years in India, 2 years in Singapore. In between those two stints, a very short stint with People Strong for about 9 months. And then when I came back from Singapore to India, I joined Biocon. So Biocon as a global CNB leader, and that's where I'm now. So I'll just take a pause now. You guys can start typing in your questions, and we'll take up one by one. Hi, Viren. Hi, Viren. Thanks for joining. If there are no questions, then I'm happy to end the session. So please feel happy to. I mean, please do put in your questions or your comments. No one has a question? It's a bit strange. Okay, okay. So the first question is from Shivraj. He says, "How do you stay updated?" Okay, I think my bad. So I had enabled the moderation, so that's why maybe your questions didn't come to me earlier. Anyway, now I've disabled the moderation, so I do see good amount of questions. So okay, so Shivraj is asking, how do you stay updated in the countries that you're handling? Very good question. I think it so one is you obviously can partner with consulting firms like Eon Mercer, Willis Watson, Deloitte, who have software or platforms that will keep you abreast with what's happening. Second is your payroll partner, right? So whomever you partner with on the payroll side, they will keep you updated in terms of if there's any change in the laws of the land, right? And third is use Google, right? I mean, Google is free to use. Just kind of bookmark all those countries that you handle, and just Google in terms of what new is happening in those countries. So that's a short answer. I hope that helped, Shivraj. Yeah. Shaunik is asking, what are the basics in data analytics, visualization, or statistics we should build on? Yeah, good question. I think it's a very evolving area, Shaunik. To be honest, I think you should see first where your organization is in the maturity curve, and accordingly. For example, I mean, if you're working in a company which is on the lower side of the maturity curve, you might not. I mean, even if you know data analytics or visualization, Power BI, whatever, right? R or Python programming, you might not have clean data to work on. And data is the most. I mean, they say data is the new oil or the new gold, right? Uh, if you have garbage in, you'll get garbage out. So focus on the source of data and how clean it is, and then according to that, build your data analytics tools, right? Now, if you're asking me this from a personal learning perspective, yeah, I mean, whenever you get time, do your start with your basics. So your Excel, macro, your all of that. Then you can go to Power BI. You can look at R. You can look at Python programming, and so on. So I think there's a lot to do, but see how useful that is to your current organization. Yeah. Okay, Viren is asking how to start career in CNB. Okay, so his background is pre-MBA, Workex Mercer, employee benefits, and then so you've just passed out from IIM Shillong. Okay, so Viren, good question. See, your start of your career is not in your hands, if you ask me. Generally, companies do not hire freshers in CNB roles. I mean, it depends. So, for a large company like, let's say, Infosys or Wipro, they might still do that, but not every company will look at a fresher. So be kind of have your expectations that way, that maybe at start of your career you will not get into CNB, but maybe 2 years down the line you can request within your HR team to kind of rotate you or move you to CNB. Uh, as I told earlier, right, those 3 points. One is, having that domain knowledge. Second is having very strong values, and third is that learning agility. So that is very important when any CNB leader will assess you. That how good are you on those areas? Um, so difficult to start your career from the campus in CNB, but yeah, give it 2 3 years and then you can move in. If you're not, I mean, some of us are, I mean, some people are lucky to start their career in CNB, but not every. Okay, Aditya is asking how important is an MBA in HR to excel in CNB. Um, okay, so this is a bit of a controversial answer, maybe. To be very honest, I'm very biased towards an MBA because I've done my MBA. It is not compulsory or it's not absolutely important to have an MBA in HR to do well in CNB. I know of many team members who just did their graduation and have done a very good job. But I think what MBA teaches you is slightly to think out of the box and to look at the long picture, to look at the bigger picture. So if you're looking at leadership roles, perhaps an MBA in HR is important. And then again, certain companies, certain industry segments, certain verticals will kind of look at MBA as a prerequisite. Again, fair, unfair is everyone's opinion. I mean, but I mean, uh, that's why I say it's a very subjective answer because I know CNB leaders who have not done the MBA in HR and still led CNB very well. So, but if you take the average or if you take the majority of CNB professionals, most of them would have MBA in HR. Yeah. Sakshi, okay, thank you. Thank you for the nice, kind words. Um, Nishit, can you prepare a case study with the data set which helps us to understand CMB rule better? Sure, Nishit, we can do that for the sessions going ahead. We'll try to get more into the nitty-gritties and the analytics. Today is the first session, and I am aware the audience is not only CNB, so I wanted to kind of keep it a bit light and something which everyone can relate to. Okay, Cheryl, any tips, certifications for executive equity compensation? Again, very niche area within Total Rewards. Um, yes, you can do certain certifications or you can attend courses. There are few companies. So, like Aeon does a course in Execram. There's a company formed by Anubhav called Execram, I think. They also do that. Mercer, Deloitte, everyone would offer a exec rem or an composition module. So you can do that if you have the money to kind of sign up or your organization sponsors you. If not, you can always use YouTube or Udemy or Coursera or any of these online learnings on exec compensation. But to be absolutely honest and frank with you, the real learning happens when you work on it in your organization. So, I had all the learnings for a long time in my consulting life. I really became good at it when I started using that in my corporate stint, right? So my 2 year stint in Reliance, and then now my current stint in Biocon. I'm very heavily involved in exec so that's where my skills have sharpened. While I had all the theoretical knowledge from my consulting days, the real value that I've seen is now in my corporate stint. Okay, Shailendra is asking, will Total Reward courses from Aeon or Mercer help? Okay, so I think everything helps, Shailendra. These courses, you have to look at the ROI kind of a thing. So obviously, if your company is sponsoring, then it's a clear yes. So go ahead, do it. It will. It might not immediately give you a transition, but it will get you oriented towards Total Rewards or CNB. Now, if you're putting on your own money, then you know, I would kind of ask you to be a bit cautious and careful because you will not get immediate returns, right? So if you're putting your own money, be a bit more careful in terms of don't overspend or don't have that expectation that as soon as I finish these courses, people will be calling me for interviews and I'll be or internally, you know, my team will move me to Total Rewards. Doesn't happen that way. Vabis, okay, which who want to move? I think similar question, Vabis. So kind of answered that. Megha is asking how can a person with no experience of CMB can make inroads in the domain of earlier. and the current company is not ready to switch. Yeah, so I think this is the big challenge, Megha. I mean, to be honest, I don't have clear answers because even when I'm hiring for my team, I do want CNB experience. I don't normally take fresh people, but I do take bets, right? So during the interview, if I see those three things which I talked about, right? Learning agility, very strong on values, and very good analytical skills, then it doesn't matter to me. So if you score high on these three, then it doesn't matter to me if they're currently doing CNV or not. I would still go ahead and hire that person. So I think if you're currently not in CNB and you wish to get into CNB, really hone your skills around these three areas. So learning agility, your your fundamental core, and or your decision making, and third is your analytical skills. Right? So in terms of how do you approach a problem, how do you develop a solution to the problem, all of that matters when you're trying to convince a CNB head that you can be a good addition to his or her team. Okay. Deepa is asking, I have 15 years of HR ops experience with knowledge of core HR like CMB, L&D recruitment. I'm eager to transition into these areas starting at an entry level. How to proceed? Okay, I think I've kind of answered that, Deepa. But if you, I mean, we can always do one-on-one, kind of mentoring. It will be difficult because you do have a considerable amount of experience. So generally, people who transition to CNB will do it in their first 2 or 3 years. That's the easiest time to transition. As you get more experience and more experienced, your salary also increases, and then the question the CNB team or the CNB head has it has in his or her mind is at that salary or at that compensation, do I mean can I hire that person with zero experience in CNB? So it becomes tougher as you get more and more experience in non-CNB areas, but we can always have a one-on-one conversation around this. Okay. So Amit is asking, what are some of the projects which one can volunteer to get exposure in CNB? Yeah, so I think if you're an HRBP or any other function within HR, the easiest parts of CNB that you can volunteer for could be, let's say, benefits. So benefits is not very number driven. Benefits is not rocket science, right? By benefits, I mean your medical insurances, your social security related benefits like PF, gratuity in India, and flex and other new age benefits like there's so many things happening. So that's one thing that you can look at. Mobility is another topic which is again not very number driven or confidential. You can start volunteering with your CNB team in the area of global mobility. Reward and recognition is another part that you can volunteer. um, yeah, so I think these three areas are slightly less confidential, less sensitive, less number driven, um, medium visibility. So it's easier for a non CNB person to kind of volunteer in these areas. Pulkit is asking, could you suggest some good? Okay, so I kind of answered that, Pulkit. So I mean, the gold class is the World at Work, CCP, CRP. But these cost you, I think, about 6 lakhs and plus. So do it only if your organization is sponsoring it. Don't do it on your own money. Again, these certifications will not guarantee you anything in the Indian market. But yes, if you're looking at a stint outside of India, then these certifications are slightly more recognized than in India. Uh, Beyond that, you can look at the learning courses from Aon, Mercer, Deloitte, WTW, Korn Ferry, right? And then there are also these smaller firms like Executive and so on who will do their own learning courses. So So in terms of professional certification, the only one which is professionally recognized is the World at Work certification. Everything else is more of learning, right? It's more of uh, like what I'm doing with you all today. It's more of not certification. It's a learning that. So just take a water break and then move on. Okay, Abhijit Nikam, how to move into the core. Okay, Abhijit, I think I've answered this. But again, if you feel that you need more support, feel free to give me a call. It is difficult once you get 7 to 8 years of experience to move into CNB does get difficult. So we can talk one on one. I mean there are ways that you can try, but yeah, it does get difficult. Okay. Okay. Hi Ashish. Okay, Vikas has a question. How it will go for someone in CNB to towards career-wise for having some experience in consulting and some in-house? Yeah. So very good question, Vikas. Thanks for asking this. A combination of consulting and in-house or corporate PR is very good in my opinion because you'll be strong on the technicals or the technicalities, and you will be also very grounded in terms of getting your hands dirty in data and in real life situation. So before my stint in Biocon currently, I predominantly had consulting experience, so about 10 plus years of consulting experience. And now in the last 1 year or so, I've kind of realized how different the consulting TR is to the in-house TR. So it's very good to have that mix. To be very honest with you, yeah. Okay, Priyanka. Okay, Priyanka is asking which one would you prefer for learning curve, a total rewards consulting job or a total rewards practitioner one? Apology. Oh, that's fine. Um, So I think to start off with, I would always prefer consulting, total rewards consulting, because that sets your fundamental knowledge, right? So job evaluation, pay range design, short-term incentives, long-term incentives, benchmarking, all of this you will learn very quickly and very efficiently in a consulting role. So what you might take 2 years to learn in an Aon or a Mercer, you might take about 5 years to learn in a in-house role. I mean that could be a bit of a exaggeration, but that's how it is. And then as you as you kind of grow, then you can switch to in-house, right? And maybe we'll do another session later on in terms of the pros and cons of consulting versus in-house. We can I mean that's a good idea. So that's something that I can kind of work with you guys. Shivraj is asking how is the future around total revolves evolving with AI? Okay, um okay, so I will not have a very good answer on this. Because as I told you earlier, AI is a tool, right? AI does not kind of give you the framework, right? So yeah, you can use AI to kind of replace your Excel, but do keep in mind that the data that we work on is extremely confidential. No company will allow you to put that data even in your in-house Copilot, right? So I can't put my organization's com data on Copilot. So there is limited application of AI. To be very honest with you, most of the AI that is happening on the consulting side with consulting or consultants using AI to become more productive. But an in-house role, uh, yeah, I mean you can use AI or you can use the chatbots for maybe answering employee queries and all, and you can use AI to for your employee communication around total rewards, for automating letters and all. So you can do a lot of automation with AI, but the core analytics, because the data is so confidential and sensitive, and especially if you're handling a global role, uh, there are data privacy, DPA and DP and PI issues, so personal information, where you can't even store their data on an Indian server. So there's, I mean, there is application of AI, but in the core of Total Rewards, there's limited application around AI. Again, it's just my personal view. I could be like a dinosaur here. I might not be the most big advocate of AI, but yeah, that's just my personal view. But going ahead, the future could be very AI driven, especially uh, if the confidentiality around com data becomes less, if people become more acceptant towards sharing their com data, then it's a different case study, right? Yeah. Okay, Ashish is asking how can you elaborate on program management and how to be efficient in handling project from your perspective? So I think program management is a very horizontal or a very generalist skill. So whether you do a PM role in TR or LND or PMS or OD, that same skill will apply for TR also for CNB also. So I think the more you work, the better you get at program management, and then that kind of helps in TR also. I think the only difference I would say TR is very technical compared to the other functions within HR. So if you have to be a good program manager in PR, you also need to be very technically strong, which you might not have to do in, let's say, LND or some of the other areas. Okay. Another question from Megha: how can AI help in learning nuances of Tudor words, relevant interviews, and misunderstood learning? So Megha, I mean, to be very honest, maybe I'm not the right person to answer that. I'm not a big fan of AI. I do use Gemini on my personal devices. I do use Copilot on my office laptop. I use that mainly for better productivity, for shortcuts, for automating stuff. Um, I I think I use it more as a, let's say, like a guesstimate for certain questions that I have, but AI is not 100% accurate. So obviously, I don't depend on AI to tell me what is happening or what new is happening in, let's say, Finland or Slovakia or Poland. I will have to do my own credible research. So whether it is with partners like the consulting firm that I talked about, or with my payroll partner, or I do a proper Google search and get the answer. I mean, I think only yesterday somebody in my team was asking AI about what is the new tax rule changes in 2026, and AI gave a very wrong answer. So immediately I told that person that no, I think AI is referring to the earlier tax rules, and that is what it was, because I think the government has not put it in a very open format. AI still doesn't give you the new tax rules which were introduced this month. So be a bit careful about using AI for your knowledge or for your for your interview prep. Um, do a bit more of old school kind of research rather than focusing only on AI. Okay. So Abhijit Nikam, good question. Can you suggest 4 5 CMB concepts which are practically very important in the organization? Okay. So I think I kind of answered that, but okay. So I think the first most important is budget control, right? So if you're a listed company or whether, I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if you're unlisted, it is equally important. You have quarterly results. You have to tell your shareholders your metrics on a quarterly basis. So So if CNB or HR does not have a strong grip on cost, right, especially people cost is the largest cost within for most of the service oriented companies. So cost control or budget control is the first most important. Second is being fair. So fairness, transparency, governance is very important, right? How is everything in Total Rewards fair? How is it transparent? How is it forward looking? How are you building governance around that? That's the second concept. Third is benefits. So apart from compensation, are you providing or are you designing very progressive benefits to attract people to your organization? Fourth is well-being. So we are all seeing burnout. We are all seeing deterioration of mental health. So are you doing it? Are you doing something to kind of ensure that your productivity in the company doesn't drop, right? And fifth would be perhaps reward and recognition. So because that's a very important lever of culture. So are you able to drive a very thriving kind of a rewards and recognition program, which also impacts your culture in a very positive way? Okay, so I think we almost 1 hour into the session today, and maybe I'll take the last two questions, and then remaining, so all of y'all can, I mean, if you're not already part of the WhatsApp group, please do join the CNB Weekend School WhatsApp group. You can post your questions there, and I can answer. I can answer there as well. And yeah, so we'll take it from there. Maybe I'll take the last question from Priyanka. So, annual budgeting. Any suggestions how to learn or get exposure? So, unfortunately, annual budgeting, you will not get exposure in your company if you are not part of the TR team because it's very confidential, very sensitive. But you can do case studies which are available online, either from these learning platforms, like I said, Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning. All of these will have some case studies around budgeting, so you can try your luck there. Or if you have friends in the CNB team, you can ask them to share the budgets of maybe 5 years ago, and you can work on that. So yeah, cool. Okay, so maybe we'll stay live for another couple of minutes to see if there are any last questions, and then you all can share your feedback over the WhatsApp group. If you have not joined the WhatsApp group, please do ping me on LinkedIn or anywhere that you want to join, and I will get you added. Right, and yeah, take it from there. Okay, I think thank you everyone. It's been great talking to all of you all on a Saturday morning. I hope you all found some value in this, and see you next Saturday. Hopefully, I'll get to see all of you all then. Sure. Bye bye. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye.